Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'll be sharing an Appalachian story that descends from my own bloodline. This story is filled with feuding families, curses, and some horror. After researching my family history and other articles written online, I felt the need to make this video. I'd like to thank in advance all the historians and writers online for providing such informative information. I'll credit them in the description if you would like to know more. Now sit back and enjoy the tale of the Tilly Bend Witch. Fact or fiction? You be the judge. Deep within the serene hills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia lies the Tilly Bend Cemetery, a place where echoes of a haunting tale resonate through the ages. At its core is the mysterious figure of Elizabeth Jane Tilly Bradley, a woman whose heritage intertwined with tragedy and whose healing abilities were overshadowed by a bitter feud. Elizabeth, a woman of Creek Indian descent, was a member of the Tilly Bend community in the late 1800s. Alongside her husband, Jason Bradley, she nurtured a family of 8 children, 6 daughters and 2 sons. Their lives were intricately woven into the fabric of the community, a tapestry that would soon be marred by a bitter clash between the Tilly and Stanley clans. When the Civil War broke out, the Stanley clan found a hard time supporting secession. Very few mountain folk could afford to own enslaved individuals to provide the labor. That form of farm labor was part of the lifestyle of rich folks. For the Stanleys, it was a rich man's war and a poor man's fight. Frankly, they just wanted to be left alone to work their land. In a time when you were marked by which side you supported, they marked the Stanleys as Union sympathizers, likely because what the Confederate side offered didn't suit their lifestyle. Due to the Stanleys' stance on the war, this helped to fuel the feud between them and the Tillys and other neighbors in the region. I'll save that gruesome story for another day. In the early 1900s, the Tilly Bend community continued to gather for church services. However, the stillness was shattered one Sunday morning by the arrival of the Stanley clan. In a horrifying turn of events, shots rang out, cutting through the sacred silence and claiming the lives of several Tilly family members, including Elizabeth's eldest daughter. The blood of kin mingled with the wooden pews, forever staining the memory of that ill-fated day. In the face of such heart-wrenching loss, grief ignited a thirst for vengeance within the Tilly clan. Fueled by a desire for retribution, they gathered their strength and set out on a moonlit night. With heavy hearts and clenched fists, they descended upon the Stanley settlement, seeking justice in the darkness. The raid unfolded like a chapter from a grim tale, as the Tilly posse moved silently through the slumbering settlement. Revenge danced in their eyes, their determination unyielding. Elizabeth's other daughter, who was pregnant, watched in horror as her husband was killed. After her husband's murder, she and the baby would die while trying to give birth. Some say she died due to a broken heart. The echoes of that fateful raid reverberated through the Blue Ridge Mountains, etching scars upon the land and the souls of those involved. The feud had reached its climax, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Elizabeth, her heart heavy with sorrow, found herself caught between the warring factions that had torn her family apart. Amidst the chaos, whispers of Elizabeth Jane Bradley emerged from the shadows, a mysterious woman believed to possess powers beyond mortal comprehension. The mountain folk, consumed by fear and uncertainty, branded her the Tilly Bend Witch. Tales of her alleged curses spread like wildfire, weaving a web of dread and suspicion throughout the community. It was said that Elizabeth had placed a hex on the fighting Tilly and Stanley families, invoking dark magic to ensure their ruin. In a twisted turn of fate, no children were born or lived past infancy in the wake of her supposed curse. The haunting absence of youthful laughter and innocent voices cast an eerie pall over the once vibrant community, deepening the belief in Elizabeth's malevolent powers. The atmosphere grew increasingly charged with paranoia and dread. In 1906, the townspeople, their hearts consumed by superstition and the weight of their misfortunes, turned against Elizabeth. Convinced that her curses had come true, they took the law into their own hands. Swiftly tried and convicted, Elizabeth Jane Bradley met her tragic end, swinging from a tree in the Tilly Bend Cemetery. Before she died, she swore she'd come back. They buried her at the foot of the tree where she fell and facing the west, which is known as a witch's burial. Christians believe in the second coming of Jesus. It is customary for their bodies to be buried facing the east side. This is because it is the teaching of Scripture that Christ will emerge from the east. Another year passed with the same degree of infant mortality. The same townspeople concluded that her sister-in-law Mary had possessed Elizabeth's dark soul and continued her vindictive project from beyond the grave. They gave Mary the same gruesome ending as Elizabeth had experienced. Only they buried her facing east. Even in death, Elizabeth's presence still lingers. Locals speak of apparitions in the moonlit nights, ethereal figures moving among the tombstones. Some claim to hear whispers carried on the breeze, as if the witch's voice still haunts the hills. The cemetery itself has become a focal point of both intrigue and trepidation, a somber reminder of the power of belief and the weight of a community's collective conscience. As the sun sets behind the Blue Ridge Mountains, casting an orange glow across the Tilly Bend Cemetery, a sense of melancholy fills the air. The legends of the alleged witch and the curse she cast continue to captivate the imaginations of those who dare to delve into the supernatural. Some dismiss it as mere folklore, while others remain firm in their belief that the spirits of the past still roam the hallowed grounds. Through the passage of time, the story of Elizabeth Jane Bradley and the Tilly Bend witch has become intertwined with the tapestry of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the dangers of unchecked superstition, the destructive power of feuds, and the haunting legacies they can leave behind. As the winds whisper through the moss-covered trees, the memory of the witch and her alleged curses lives on, forever etched in the annals of the Blue Ridge's enigmatic history.